that I'm not part of the club. And a lot of you listening to me right here, right now, you're not part of the club either.
Their brand of politics, I guess.
But if you can't think for yourself, then you're not really free, are you?
No, you're not. You're not. But I've been excluded. I've been excluded on Oprah, you know.
On Oprah?
On Oprah, yeah.
All right, folks, let's get right into it. So, picture this. Oprah Winfrey, a name synonymous with elegance and power, suddenly left speechless by none other than Ice Cube.
What platforms have banned you?
I've been you know, I tried to go on The View. They didn't have me on The View.
Why?
Well, a few of the guests just really didn't like where I was coming from. So, or a few of the hosts, I mean. So that's what I was told by the producers. You know, I don't know if the producers was just copping out and using some of the hosts to not have me come on and explain myself, but I've been excluded. I've been excluded on Oprah, you know.
On Oprah?
On Oprah, yeah, I've been excluded. Yeah, man.
I would think you'd be the person Oprah would want to promote. I mean, you grew up in South Central, you were successful at a young age, you have dignity, you say what you think. Like, I thought that was the goal.
Me too. You know, I don't know what it is, but, you know, several of my, you know, I had a movie called Barbershop, you know.
Yeah, I remember.
That I wasn't invited to participate with the cast. I produced a show called Black White, and it was a very controversial show. And once again, they had the whole cast on, but I wasn't invited. And so I don't know. I don't know what that's.
On Oprah.
Yeah, you heard it right. Ice Cube, just casually dropping bombshells about Hollywood that even Oprah couldn't dodge. So, what really went down? Well, in a jaw-dropping encounter that's got everyone talking, Ice Cube ripped open the veil on Hollywood's gripping secrets, exposing power plays and manipulative gatekeeping that left Oprah absolutely stunned. And here's the kicker. He's pointing fingers at legends, questioning their roles in this system. If you're curious about these explosive revelations and how they affect the giants we know, you're in for a ride. Before we dive deeper, make sure you hit that subscribe button, okay? I'm on a mission to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of February, so your support would totally mean the world to me and keep us uncovering all the truths you need to know. All right, so Ice Cube's not just making claims here. Here's a guy who isn't afraid to call out the elephant in the room.
That I'm not part of the club. And a lot of you listening to me right here, right now, you're not part of the club either. And what I realized with the club is what makes them so mad is when you don't want to be a part of their fucking club. That pisses them off. What club am I talking about? I'm talking about the club of gatekeepers that we all got to deal with.
Now for Cube, this whole thing isn't just a spat, it's personal.
You know who they are, and they definitely know who they are. A lot of people would be like, what, who? Come on, man, stop playing. So, ever since I put out the contract with Black America, you know they've been with me. Here and there, this and that. But it's cool, you know. I expect that. You know, I've been working with, you know, on the big three for a long time, and you know how they've been with me with that. I done made it, you know, plain, simple, and clear what they've been doing. You know, the NBA been with us. Now, a lot of people might say, like, well, but Cube, you want to work with the NBA. Really, I don't give a about working with the NBA. What I want them to do when I say work with us is to stop working against us. Stop doing that bullshit behind the scenes that we know you're doing. Mainstream media, you know, they ain't fucking with us. And that's cool. We can do it ourselves, you know what I'm saying? We still on the rise without these.
So, he's been feeling the cold shoulder from the Hollywood bigwigs for years now. I mean, this isn't just some passing gripe. We're talking about exclusion from major platforms where he felt his voice could have sparked real change. Let's take Oprah's show, for instance, the holy grail of talk shows.
Well, Oprah Winfrey is hitting back at claims that she created a negative experience for the cast during the filming of The Colour Purple.
Now, speculations started when one of the film's stars spoke out about being paid inadequately in Hollywood, as well as criticising production for making cast members drive themselves to set in rental cars. But the media mogul has shut all of those rumours down, saying there's no bad blood between the...
Cube says flat out he's been snubbed more than once.
Ice Cube is shaking up the gatekeepers just by making appearances with Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, Piers Morgan. He's having an impact. He's normalizing a behavior of, hey, let me go sit down and talk with anyone and reject the programming that I can only talk with who corporate media, the Democratic Party, Democratic politicians, and social media tell me I can talk with.
Yeah, you'd think a guy with his success story coming up from South Central LA, turning into a filmmaking giant, would be a natural fit, but apparently not. And it's not just Oprah. Remember The View? Cube wasn't welcome there either. According to him, his independent critical views ruffled too many feathers among the hosts, to the point where producers told him straight up, he's not getting on.
So there are some groups, like if I say I'm trans, then people say, that's great, you were born that way, we affirm you. But if you say I'm just a dude with male instincts, you're not affirmed, you're attacked.
Yeah, I mean, everybody doesn't really have to affirm you, If I wake up and say, I feel like a pigeon. I want everybody to treat me like a pigeon.
Can you believe that? And here's where it gets even spicier, okay? Cube isn't just throwing accusations, he's naming names, calling out what he sees as an elitist club in Hollywood.
What am I gonna do to deal with these gatekeepers? Well, what I'm gonna do is go on the Gatekeepers podcast tour. And I'm gonna go talk to everybody, and get a chance to get my message out to the people. Be able to let people hear from me, and you might agree, you might not, but the important thing is, for me to go on these platforms, say what I feel about what I think. And, some people may get pissed off because I'm going to talk to everybody. I'm not playing. And it's gonna be a crazy summer. It's gonna be fun. Appreciate y'all. Always support the big three. Hopefully I'm doing stuff that you guys dig. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for people that's bored as in the summer with summer sports and want something cool like the big three. So here we are. Appreciate.
Now imagine being an accomplished artist. You have all the talent and grit in the world, and still you're fighting gatekeeping. That's what Cube's dealing with. He says the industry's like this closed-off club you can't get into unless you play by rules you never made nor even agreed to. But Cube's not one to just roll over, and to be honest, neither should he be expected to. He's gearing up for a Gatekeepers podcast tour. Yeah, he's hitting the ground running, sitting down with anyone and everyone willing to hear him out. Cube plans to lay it bare. All those controversies, all those struggles, and all that systemic exclusion he's faced, all laid out for the public eye. And he's not just focusing on his grievances, he's advocating for a broader conversation about transparency and real autonomy in creative industries.
Do you think that it's harder to be a man in America now than it was when you were a kid?
Yes. Saying what you feel, being yourself, is what they call toxic. We shouldn't be called toxic for our instincts and for, I was born this way. What are you talking about? You know what I mean? Why can't we be ourselves? We were born this way too.
So there are some groups, like if I say I'm trans, then people say, that's great, you were born that way, we affirm you.
Talk about throwing a wrench in Hollywood's carefully polished veneer. Now zero in on Oprah for a moment. Sure, she's got this persona of empowerment and justice, but folks, her track record with black artists, it's kind of murky. Critics say she hasn't always been the champion she claims to be, pointing to past projects where equal treatment was questioned. Artists like Monique have been vocal about Oprah's alleged favoritism, or lack thereof.
If Oprah was watching this, what would you tell her?
I would say, Oprah Winfrey, you know what you need to do, and stop hiding behind what you call was negative comments, what you call, oh, I don't even deal with things like that, because what people are beginning to do is see you for who you are. Where Oprah Winfrey and I have a problem is Oprah Winfrey called us up and she said my brother wanted to come on the show and talk about him molesting me, and he wanted to tell other parents how to look out for molesters. My brother Gerald is a charmer. So my mind thought was, because she said, do you want to come on? I said, I don't want nothing to do with that cat. I said, nigga, I know is up to a scam.
Monique claims Oprah was part of a cabal that blackballed her out of Hollywood despite her immense talent. That's heavy, right? If we double back to Ice Cube, his claims against these Hollywood elites aren't baseless. There's a history, a pattern, if you will, of Cube feeling shut out for not adhering to the industry's unspoken status quo.
Thank you for staying up late with us here on The Factor Uncensored. We have a great program for you, as we do every night. Oscar-winning actress and comedian Monique is making it clear how she feels about Tyler Perry. They have been feuding for years. Monique had accused Tyler Perry and Oprah of blackballing her from Hollywood. And despite Monique apologizing to both for those claims back in February, it appears Monique still has hard feelings towards both Oprah and Tyler Perry. She went in on the icons during a recent comedy performance. Take a look.
Take his movie Barbershop or his series Black White. Cube says he wasn't even invited to panel discussions with the cast on big shows. Why? Because his ideas, his straightforwardness didn't fit the narrative. Here's where things get heated. Cube's not looking for a pity party. Nope. He's leveraging these experiences to bring a conversation to the forefront, one that challenges Hollywood norms and demands answers. He's ditching big networks for platforms where his voice isn't censored, where his perspective isn't glossed over. And let's not forget, his decision to appear with controversial figures like Tucker Carlson. Cube's move sent ripples through Hollywood. It's like he's saying, I'm going to speak my truth and I don't need your invitation to do so. It's radical, very Trump-like, if I might say, and kind of revolutionary. Ice Cube's not letting anyone control his narrative, pushing back against what he describes as a club of gatekeepers. You know, it's kind of fair to say Cube's challenging the cozy relationships these industry giants have. His fight isn't just for himself, but for everyone getting the short end of the deal, folks on his team, other artists, everyone just trying to make it without compromising who they are. So here's my take. Whether you agree with Cube or not, this conversation he's opening up is vital. It gets us questioning the intricacies of power and influence that, let's be honest, we often assume are fair and just, but maybe, just maybe, aren't. So the question I'm leaving with you today is, based on Cube's bold claims, who do you think holds the real cards in Hollywood? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious to see which side of the fence everyone's on here. Let's get the discussion going, all right?